In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care friends and family. Welcome back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into this episode, I want you to do me a quick favor. If you are feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap that screen, like, comment, and most importantly, share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you will find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and a lot of free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly for you. And remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop a green heart in the chat. It is our community's way of saying that I'm healing, I'm growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Family, today we have a special guest in the room. He is a husband, a motivator, and a man who's learned how to stand tall in the face of loss and lean on faith through it all. Family, I want you to help me welcome Jevon Wilson, the heart of No Fear, No Doubt Life Coaching, into the room. Jevon, welcome in, fam. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I got no complaints, nothing worthy of mentioning.
Understood.
Yes. So, family, listen, Jevon believes in pushing through, what life throws at you with confidence, perseverance, and just unshakable faith. And honestly, after everything that he's walked through, love, loss, and life lessons, he's now walking boldly in his purpose and he's helping others to do the same. But before we get into his story, I want to take a moment and just check in with your soul, fam. I'm going to ask you, how's your spirit doing today?
Today, my spirit is actually feeling bright and shining bright. I'm feeling amazing today. I'm very excited about this episode, and then it's just beautiful outside. So why not make it a beautiful day altogether?
Absolutely. And that's something that we get to choose, right? Even on the darkest days, we get to choose positivity. We get to choose happiness, right?
That's it.
All right. So let's just go ahead and get into the man behind the message. Let's start with your story, right? I believe you've been married for 17 years.
That's
and
correct.
Coaching in some form, your entire life. So let's talk about who Jevon Wilson is behind No Fear, No Doubt.
Okay. Well, the actual me, behind the coaching, I'm actually a quiet, introvert individual that, tries to be the best version of himself that he can be. Now, Coach Fear, I call it like my alter ego. He is a more driven individual that has been through a lot of things in his life that has challenged him, that has made him want to quit, that has made him want to, just give up on life all in general. But he is still persistent. He believes that the more work you put in, the more progress you'll see. So, I'm just a man that has been through a lot of things in life and has chose to still be, the best version of myself and try to encourage and uplift other people around me to do the same.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I love about stories like yours, right? It's, I don't know. I think the more I have these conversations, I'm learning that purpose rarely shows up fully formed. It's something that's shaped over time through life's lessons, the losses, and all of those quiet moments that everybody really doesn't get to see, those non-trending moments. Um, and so I know that you've, like I said, been kind of coaching your whole life. And that honestly just tells me that encouragement isn't just something that you do. I really believe that it's who you are.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
what what experiences shape the way that you show up for people today as a life coach and motivator?
Well, to be honest, to answer that question, I had to actually experience the darkest days in my own life to understand where other individuals were or where they have been or where they are going. I had dealt with depression at a young age due to the fact of thinking I was in love with someone and they didn't love me back the same way. So I honestly lost myself. I forgot how to love myself. I forgot what it was like to be able to, pick something that made me happy because I always wanted to please other people. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make sure other people were happy and not, really caring about my own love and self love. But the thing that really pushed me over the edge to make me really go fully into coaching was when I lost my mother. She showed me that, life is short. So why walk around mad and hating the world when you can actually choose to bring peace, to make other people happy, to bring true excitement into your life by doing what you truly want to do instead of people pleasing and trying to make, everybody else happy besides yourself. So those were the key moments in my life that made me just say, hey, don't allow other people to predict your happiness. It's up to you to do that. So go out there and do the best that you can do for yourself. And then it'll, grow onto other people because they'll see how you're living.
Absolutely. It's so powerful to hear how life, it just seems like kept preparing you for this role that you're walking in now. And I think that sometimes we just don't realize that we've been training our whole life. Life was building our voice, our patience, and truthfully our testimony before we even stepped into our calling.
That's,
I before I started kind of walking in my purpose, I feel like I've been life coaching my whole life. Before I even knew that life coaching was a thing. When it was finally brought to my attention, I was like, wait, what is that? Like,
exactly.
living scam likely. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
can understand that because I was like, life coaching. How can I tell someone how to live their life? But
Yeah,
I understand it now.
absolutely. Yeah, after you get that first course under your belt, you like, I get it. I get it. And I feel like this was I don't know, I feel like this was a career that was just designed for me. Like, God was like, hold on, Shantae, she's going to do this. Jevon, he's going to do this. Let me make sure that they got their own lane to operate in.
That is true. I agree too, because like I said, I've been doing it. Well, I didn't even realize I was doing it because people just gravitate to me. And I'm the type where I wasn't always positive. I was, negative Nancy at some point in my life. But when you go through certain things in your life, you get a different aspect and a different view of how you want to view life in general. So
Yeah,
once I saw that other view of life, I was like, I don't want to be sad and broken and mad all the time. Like I want to enjoy life the time that I'm here.
absolutely. Yeah, it's like once you get a taste of the good life, that positive vibe, there's no going back. You know what I
So
mean? You're like, this ghetto over there. I don't recommend that to anybody.
exactly. That is so real life.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into the turning point for you. I know that you mentioned losing your mom, and so with your mother's passing, I know that really shifted your perspective on life. Are you able to take us back to that moment and discuss, what changed in you?
Yes. Basically, what really changed in me is my own belief in myself. Because everybody else always encouraged me, especially my mother. She always reassured that, we did our best and we always, showed up and did our best no matter what other people have thought or their opinions of what we did. So um, when she literally, I honestly saw her take her last breath. So it just, I don't know, it triggered something in me that's like, there's so many other people out here, dealing with life, being upset and mad because they don't know how to get out of that barrier, or they're, putting themselves in a mental jail because of the things that happened in their past or the things that's happening in their lives now. So I was just like, I don't know. It's like God was like, you just can't sit here and watch the world take themselves out and missing the gooder things in life, the better things in life, by believing and trusting in me to get them through the things that they're dealing with. So that was the major turning point for me, is when I really saw my mother take her last breath. And it just was like, there's other people out here that will literally have the opportunities to change and make a better opportunity in their life, but they just don't know how to. So I was like, that's why I am here, to uplift them and show them the way that they need to go to become better and enjoy life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely understand that because, as I shared with you before, I was there with my father when he took his last breath. And, just even the process of being there with him, during the week of his transitioning, I learned a lot of lessons. And, first and foremost, I learned that I needed to let him go and let him know that it was okay. He needed to hear, you did your job. Before he got up there to hear, job well done, he needed to hear that from me, that he did his job and that I was going to be okay and that I was strong, and planning to take every single lesson, all the crazy stories that my dad would have for me, that I was prepared to turn those into lessons for, to help other people continue. And I know losing a parent, it hits differently, especially when that parent is your
Yeah,
person.
definitely. Yeah, like I was a mama's boy.
Yeah, I'm a daddy's girl. And so I remember, wins didn't hit the same after I lost him, because I'm like,
Yeah,
who am I supposed to share this with? It's like the world keeps spinning, but something inside of you, like your soul, just has to kind of relearn its rhythm.
yeah,
And, for me and my dad bonded over music. He was a DJ. So music has been a part of my whole life, and it's what we bonded over. And so even just hearing music after that kind of hit different.
yeah,
And so for anybody, like I said, when you lose your person, when that type of loss happens, you start asking yourself deeper questions. That's the moment I feel like we're like, why are we here? What am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do next? Because,
yes,
mom told you when you said, all right,
yeah.
mom, what's next? You're like,
Yeah, those are the same thoughts I had too. Because look, I said I went through depression at a younger age, but I went through like a semi depression too when I lost my mother, because I really felt like there was no one else to talk to. Who am I going to, call to motivate me when I'm down? I am married, but still, that's your mom. That's the first bond that you ever, create with somebody. So, and then she's just always motivated me, even though I may be upset and don't think it's gonna, turn out the way that it should. She was like, it's gonna be okay. There's always another chance, or try something else, or go in a different direction. So
right.
when I lost that, it made me angry. I'm not gonna lie. I was upset for a while, for about almost a year. I was even angry at God at one point, because I was like, well, God, why did you take her from me? Why could you take somebody else or something like that? But to be honest, God had even showed me, or give me a vision that, I had one more year with my mom, because she had been on dialysis for 11 and a half years. Most people do not last that long on dialysis. Two, maybe 3 years is max. So I knew it was a blessing, and I knew that it was God that had, sustained her this long. But, I had 11 extra years with her. So God was like, she did her time and more. So now it's time to, let her be at peace and let her rest, which was the hardest thing to do. And I honestly didn't share that with anybody. I didn't tell with my older sister. I told her after the fact, and she was like, well, why didn't you ever say anything? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it was time for me to say it, or, me just not being confident enough to, share those things with everybody, because I was scared. I didn't want to lose my mom. I thought it was just a dream that I had, but it literally honestly happened a year at that time that God said it was going to happen. So
Mm. Yeah, and the thing about losing someone so close is that, like like you mentioned, it really shakes your faith. And it's one of those things where it kind of shakes it, or it strengthens it. And for me, and I think probably for you too, it did both, right? Because we
Yeah,
had questions. We're like, okay,
exactly.
why not me? Why not another year? Like, give me one more year, knowing that we're still going to have this grief next year or 10 years from now. You know, it doesn't get any
Yeah.
easier. But I think that it does have to kind of shake something loose in you to instill something stronger in you or to reveal the strength that you actually have. And so, how did your grief push you towards finding purpose instead of losing hope?
To be honest, I've always been a positive person, you know, after dealing with the depression the first time, because I was like, I just don't ever want to feel that way again. I don't ever want to be that low. I never want to lose myself again. So I kind of already built like I want to say an arrogance or cockiness about myself because I had you know, to believe in myself and to love myself the way I was supposed to. So when that second grief came around, well, the first grief came around, um, it hit different because this time I looked at it as, you know, my success, not through just me doing what I did on my own. I truly looked at it as God helping me get through these things because the way I felt, the thoughts that I was thinking, there was no way that I was able to pull myself out of that rut without the grace of God, or with God, you know, guiding me and telling me that it's going to be okay. Like she's instilled great things into you and don't forget those things. So use them. She said, never give up. That's what keeps me pushing each and every day to go live on TikTok at 1 p.m. every day because she instilled something in me that I'm glad that she did, and it's growing more and more within me the more that I put in the effort and time into my craft.
Yeah.
So it just, like I said, honestly turned on like a light switch into me, and it just pushed me more and more and more to achieve things that I know that I can do, but sometimes don't have the confidence to think I can. So,
Yeah, and that kind of resilience doesn't come overnight.
you know,
It's in those quiet moments where you could have given up but didn't. For me, it was a lot of showers. I gave myself permission to cry in the shower. And, I was concerned of how my son was handling it because that was a very close loss for him. Him and his yeah, is what he called my dad. Losing his yeah, that was the first male he had in his life, before I met my husband. And so that was it was important for me to try to help him process grief because that was his first loss. And so I only gave myself permission to cry in the shower. But it was such a beautiful thing because the whole, even just the symbolism of the water washing over you and, everything being kind of wiped away. And every time I would get out the shower, I would feel stronger and, bolder. And that wasn't something that I shared with a lot of people until, a few years later when I'm like, y'all gonna think I'm weird, but I process grief in the shower,
but
and they're like,
the funny
what?
thing is, not to cut you off, but the funny
Yeah.
thing is that's the place where my mom told me where she cried. Like she said, those are the only two places: at the shower or in the car. So that was kind of amazing that you said that because that's where she let go of some of her pain and worries and doubts and fears too.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how that was so healing and coping. Like I lost my father in 2018 and I started going to therapy in 2020. So it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I even realized that was my safe space. And it wasn't, I'm not ashamed to cry. I'm a crybaby, So it's like, it's not that I was ashamed to cry, but I needed a space to process it by myself. So then I can emerge out there to the world. And now I've stopped and I thought about it. You know what I mean? So I realized I got
Yes.
downloads in the shower.
Yeah,
And I thought
exactly.
it was so funny, but it's also a place where you are naked. You know what I mean? Like you're fully exposed. And so you're your most vulnerable in there.
Yes,
The wrong person
yes.
walk in and it's like a problem. So yeah, but I know that, there are so many people listening right now who are somewhere between that faith and fatigue, trying to figure out, how to hold on when life keeps hitting hard. Um, and so, you've also mentioned to me previously that about your aunt, that was another person who was a major part in your spiritual walk. And so you've recently shared that you lost her, which just added yet another layer, into this healing journey. How did you process that season of back to back loss? Because as we all know, life is life in constantly. So how did you process that season?
So with that time, it was a little bit easier. I had learned how to deal with grief a little bit better. And then at this point in time, I was trying to be strong for my other family members because I have a lot of cousins. My mom had 6 sisters, so they all have kids, at least 2. So I have a lot of cousins. So to be honest, I was trying to be strong for everybody else because they didn't know how to, be strong for me at that time when I lost my mother. So I wanted to kind of like show them how, not really how it's done, but how to be supportive at your darkest time when you're feeling your weakest and your lowest. I just went in there just motivating them to like it's going to be okay. We got this. Their time has been done on this earth, and now it's time for them to move on. But it just allowed me to see the inner strength in me too, that even in my darkest and hardest times in life, I can still allow my light to shine to help other people that don't know which way to go or which way to turn. Um, but it was definitely a process for me to think because again, she was the aunt that I called when I needed a spiritual lift or some spiritual motivation, or she taught us vacation Bible school and going to church every Monday through Friday, so things of that matter. So she was a big piece of not just my life but our family. Like she led us all to church. So now I feel like I have picked up that mantle to a certain extent where not saying I'm leading everybody to church, but I am like the spiritual positive voice of our family now, that when everybody feels stuck or lost, they call or contact me to hear those words of encouragement or hear those words that they can keep going. So it just hit a little different, but I think it gave me a little bit more strength to know that when we lose someone, they're physically gone, but they're spiritually still here, giving us strength each day.
Absolutely. And when grief comes in waves like that, it's not just about surviving, right? It's about learning how to breathe again between each moment, between
Yes.
the waves. And so I like that you recognize a space for you in that to say, not that my way of grieving is right and yours is wrong, but here's another way.
Yeah.
Here's a way that is healthier. Here's a way that is more productive for us rather than just sitting in the sorrow. Understanding that that whole joy comes tomorrow,
Exactly.
And you're absolutely right. Just because they are gone, they're never forgotten. And a part of them always lives on in each and every one of us. But that only happens when we get up from it. If we stay down, it's like we might as well lay down right next to them in the ground.
And
You know
that
what
is
I
so
mean?
true.
Yeah.
So true.
And so, what helped you move from the grief and depression to that space of motivation and faith again?
Honestly, just becoming better for myself. I wanted to see how far I can really push myself when I actually tried, when I actually gave myself a chance instead of sitting in my little quiet corner and watching the world go by. I wanted to actually see what would happen if I did, take the opportunities or the chances that I do have and actually use my voice that people have been telling me for years, do a podcast, do this, do that, but you have such a beautiful voice. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Great. So I was like, people have been saying it. Why not just give it a try? Let me see what happens if I actually turn all this positivity into a platform. Let's see if people really do want to hear my voice. So honestly, just one day, no, I'm not gonna lie. Let's say my cousin, she does coaching for relationships. So one day I was like, well, what got you started to doing that? Because she was like, to be honest, I just pressed record and I just started recording myself. And she was like, one day you should just do that and see how it goes. So that's what you guys see on, look, if you go to my TikTok page, my very first video was me doing my very first recording of just getting out there and expressing what I wanted to do, why I'm doing it, and hopefully make a change in people's lives. So uh,
Right.
I don't know. It's just the opportunity to become better and to actually have a voice to make people's lives change is what really got me out of that grieving stage to see, like, let me use the gifts and the skills that my mother and my aunt gave me to, share with the world.
Absolutely. And what is it in Kendrick's song? And they say sometimes you got to pop off and show them, right? So
Exactly.
I say pop off stands for positivity on purpose. So
Oh, I
why
like that.
not? Sometimes you got to pop off. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And I think that that is just such a healing testimony right there, right? Because some people think that when it comes to like our faith, they think that faith cancels out grief. But in reality, faith is what gives grief direction, right? Because
Yes.
honestly, if I think back to all the relationships or the grieving that I've gone through, right, regardless of what type of relationship or what type of loss it was,
Mhm.
if it wasn't for God, I don't even know where I would be,
Like I say at mental hospital all the time because there's no way that we
Exactly.
can just mentally deal with all that. It's not possible.
Yeah, and I think that without the love of God, I would have been committed to being the victim, being the all the negative things, the negative side of grief. I would have just been comfortable sitting there because I mean, for real, misery loves company, you know,
That is
and
so true.
I'm like, listen, I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? I've always been a positive person by nature, and then of course thinking about losing my dad, he's the one who made me this way. He's the one who always had some crazy story. I would come to him and I'm like, this happened and I'm angry. And he's like, okay, But he'd say little things like, well, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. And I'm like,
Yeah. I
Dad,
remember those sayings.
yeah. And it's like my dad's from the South. So, a
Ah,
lot of inappropriate sayings, but you guys get them every day when I'm, doing my podcast because there's always some little story and I have to try to make it, a little more politically correct.
clean version.
Yeah, because my dad was truly unfiltered.
I understand. Look, my mother was the same.
Yeah,
Same.
but gotta love it,
Yeah.
So for anyone who's listening, who may, still be in the middle of that valley season, they can see the high, but they're still maybe just sitting in the low, right? Still trying to find their footing. What would you tell them about giving themselves permission to heal?
Give yourself grace. Healing is a process. To be honest, I don't think no one can be completely healed because healing takes an everyday choice. Because you are always going to come meet or encounter some type of trigger that brings you back to that same incident that got you to your lowest of lows or make you feel like that. So I feel like you just have to learn tools and ways to react to these triggers and how life is thrown at you because life comes hard, very hard sometimes, but it's the way that you think about the process and how you react to what's coming your way. As long as you keep a positive mindset and focus on becoming better and honestly believing that God will get you through, which again ties back to my logo, no fear, no doubt, which is tied to the scripture, Matthew 17:20. Having faith as small as a mustard seed to move any mountain. The other part that they really don't explain is that you got to believe that you can move that mountain though. Like you can have all the faith in the world, but until you believe that you can conquer those things that you're facing, it won't matter. So have the faith and also believe that you become better. That is the whole purpose of it.
Absolutely, because faith without work is dead. So you
That is
gotta
it.
you gotta put
That is it.
action into it. And
There you
so
go.
you brought up your motto, which I absolutely love: "No fear, no doubt." When I hear that, it literally feels like a declaration and a daily reminder. You've listened to my music prior
Yes.
to us even meeting. No fear, no doubt. Literally written that way is so, weaved into one of my albums. And then I met you, and it was just so funny to me because you would walk in the room, and then the song would say, "No fear, no doubt." And I'm laughing like,
The
did I
whole
just write this
introduction.
album? Yeah, it's like, did I just write him his own soundtrack? But I realized, looking back in my journal, how many times I wrote that in there. And it was just almost like a mantra or an affirmation for me daily. And so I'm curious, what that phrase, I know you just you gave a little teaser about it, but what does that phrase mean to you personally?
To me personally, no fear, no doubt means that no matter what you're going through in life, no matter what's thrown at you, no matter what you may think is going to become the rest of your life, you have to have no fear and no doubt to face whatever you're facing in life, because you're always going to have that fear or that doubt that something's going to go wrong or it doesn't just play out in your mind like you want it to. So that's why why God gave me that name, because you have to have no fear, no doubt. Look, just to walk out your door, to have to even to begin your day, you have to have no fear, no doubt to walk into work and have a great day. So anything you encounter in life, you have to face fear or doubt. So I just gave the no fear, no doubt that name because in my coaching, I'm teaching people to basically let go of their fears and their doubts and live life to the fullest. Be the best version of yourself without allowing the world to dictate who you are or the people of the world to dictate who you are, because it's up to you to make the decisions and choices in your life to become better.
Yeah. And I think why it aligns so much with me, and probably why I've been writing it for years, right? Is that, I remember my dad telling me that fear literally was just false evidence appearing real. It's the things that you see, it's the things that other people tell you, it's other people projecting their views and opinions on the situation. But until you walk through it, you have no idea. And
Right.
you know what? Maybe they're right, right? Or maybe they're not. So then that whole doubt comes in there. And a lot of time for me, when you hear people talk about doubt and you think more like of the faith kind of doubt, I'm like, I would rather believe that there is than to find out that there is and I didn't believe. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so,
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I've been talking to people, so not everybody unfortunately thinks that way. So now it's time to give them a different option to view instead of just the one that they have. So
exactly. It's like you've subscribed to society's definition of things for so long. Why
yes,
not just listen to mine? I'm not
right.
saying that it's gospel, but you all day you listen to things that aren't real. You click
And it's
on
not
things that
working.
aren't real, and it's not working. So why not try this? Maybe it'll work,
Exactly.
maybe it won't, you know? Um, but yeah, I think that just hits home so much because so often, fear and doubt are the two things standing between us and the life that we are praying for. And I don't think that people realize that. And that's us getting in our own way. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because those are
So
two things that we can control. It's like feel the fear, but do it anyway. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
like what's why not go through it with the fear instead of sitting there and never accomplish anything, and you could have actually accomplished it, scared or not.
Exactly. Like that fear is your armor. So when you go into battle, yes, everybody who goes into battle, they are afraid of not coming back. But they feel the fear and they do it anyway. And that fear is what makes you more vigilant. You say, okay, I know that this could happen. I know that this could end badly, but I also believe that there could be something really good on the other side of that. I think that
There
there's a
you
lesson
go. That
somewhere in
explained
here.
perfectly.
Yes. So I love hearing how, you've turned those words into a lifestyle, like an entire brand. Because I think that it is a reminder that affirmations aren't just the things that we say, but they're the truths that we live. You
Yes.
know, that is proof that you are speaking life not only over yourself because it's who you are, it's what you believe, but you are also encouraging other people to now speak life over themselves as well
Yes.
and just get out and do it. Get out there and
Definitely.
just try it.
Definitely. That's it. Just try it.
Yeah. So let's get into this marriage. I believe is it 17 years?
Yes, ma'am. 17. Well,
17
yeah,
years.
17 years married, 18 years together.
Okay. I think that is such a blessing. I love hearing, the longevity of couples because we do live in a society that glorifies the drama, that praises divorce. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you'll hear people celebrating the divorce more than they ever celebrated their marriage.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy when I encounter couples with longevity because it is scarce, and I know that it's there, but they're just not they're not publicized, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
Perfect word.
so yeah, like they're not trending, and
No.
not the real marriages.
Right.
There are these arranged marriages and these marriages of convenience, but our marriages are the real ones, right? The
Yes.
ones where we go through things, but we
Blood,
go
sweat, and
through it.
tears.
Exactly. It's like, but we go through them. We're not just talking about it, we get through it. So
Exactly.
I'm curious, how has your 17-year marriage shaped the way that you understand purpose and patience and partnership?
All great words to use. To be honest, it has shown my maturity. From because like I said, I got married at the age of 22. We were both got married and moved out on the same day. But it has shown me patience on how I react to certain things and how things are said in our marriage now. At first, had a very bad temper, so say the wrong things and I would blow up, or you ask me the wrong question and just boom, 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 and just popping off at the mouth is me, since I love to talk so much. But over the years, it's shown us growth and how we have connected to understand each other on a higher level. She is starting to understand, my life coaching a lot more. I'm starting to understand that we both have our own roads that we go down separately, but we still end up meeting back, at that center lane and still thriving to become a couple, and a successful couple at that. But now she is, learning patience and learning her faith with God a little bit stronger, because again, she didn't grow up in church like I did, but now she's starting to see, my faith and my point of view of it. So now look, she's trying it out for herself to see if it works for her. But just the longevity that we have spent together, seeing our weakest and then also our highest points in life, just encourages us to keep going, to keep fighting, because it's not going to come prosperous until we put in the work to make it happen. So, because marriage is not something that you just do for show. It literally is, you're trying to reassure that somebody else is fulfilling their life just as much as you're fulfilling yours.
Yeah, and I love that you are showing up in your authenticity and giving her the opportunity. It's like you're not imposing your views and opinions,
Right.
but you are making them known in a way that feels safe for her. And like you said, now she's stepping out on faith, literally. And that's something that is very big, because people think that once you get married, oh, you guys have established trust. Oh no, every day you keep establishing trust based upon how you react. Like you said, you have a temper. So if you would have continued, reacting to your wife in that manner, right, then she would not feel like you would be a safe space for her, and you would get a completely different wife out of her.
That is so true.
So
True.
I think that love has a way of teaching us, the hard lessons about grace and growth and the importance of communication, because
Yes,
I think that every marriage has to be built with great communication. You can't
has
just
to.
talk about the positive stuff and not be able to have those tough conversations. Um, and so, being married that long, it's not just about staying together. It's about growing together and
Exactly.
understanding that you're going to grow at different paces, you know? And so I imagine that your relationship has taught you just as much about yourself as it has about your wife.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, I had to adjust some things in my life to become a better husband and also understand her point of view too. Because I used to be that just one tracked and focused on just me, 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 me. And now you have to be open minded to see other people's point of view and realize that your way is not always the right way, and the way to fix something is not always that one way to fix it. There's multiple ways. So
Yeah. Yeah, that just reminds me of when I first started my healing journey. Like I said, in 2020, when I started going to therapy, I definitely got so wrapped in me, because in the process of me going to therapy, I realized my self-care was trash, that
yeah,
I wore so many hats, and I was so great at being a wife and a mom and the daughter and the sister and all the things, but I was a horrible human being to myself, and I had no idea, so all of
yeah,
a sudden once somebody opens your eyes, like you said, you can't unsee it. So I went full in. I was like, self care. I'm doing me. I ain't got this, And unfortunately, I made a mistake within my marriage of forgetting him, not having the conversation with him. And, I was like, well, my marriage is secure. I'm going to go work on me, not realizing I still needed to secure my marriage. And so, in finally having a conversation with my husband, and thankfully we can have those tough convos, he finally explained to me how he felt isolated. He felt like I didn't want him because I found me, but I didn't tell him, I didn't explain to him the journey of what I was going through. I just was like, okay, well, he'll be fine. He'll be okay with it because, I'm not cheating and there's no abuse. There's no, but I didn't realize there was a lot of neglect in finding me. And so I had to scale it back, and I had to humble myself to apologize, to say I didn't see it your way because I was only seeing my way. And that's what marriage teaches you, that you have to step out, because just like I deserve to heal, so did he.
Right.
So if it's you, then you have to also understand it's also them. And can't get mad when they put themselves first. Because when he started going to the gym and going to the range, I was like, what? Like,
exactly.
What are you doing? And he's like, it's called self-care, babe. Look it up. I'm like, okay. Touche, he likes to throw it back at me now, and he's like, no, babe, it's self-care. Because I'm like, you don't want to talk? He's like, no, I want a game. I'm like, okay, I'll just go play in my office,
Sounds just like me and my wife.
Yeah,
but I have to start balancing out, though, because yes, coaching is my life. But like I said, I have a life outside of coaching too, and I have to reassure that I include her a part of that too, because sometimes I'm so focused and pouring into people and other people, and I need to be pouring into home. So,
yeah, and it's so easy to forget that, because the job or the career that we've chosen, we are so passionate about pouring into other people. You know what I mean? But we forget sometimes, like, that starts at home. And we forget sometimes, not intentionally, and not because we're bad people, but it is very easy to forget about the commitment that goes with it. And just like we're walking in our purpose and being, this positive beacon of light for the people of the world, we have to remember that God also granted us this marriage. And that's also a calling over us as well. So we still have to remember to show up and love and honor and obey and pour into that marriage as well.
That's so true.
If that marriage start falling apart, your coaching gonna look a little different too. And that's the thing I remind myself, like, the topic of this conversation, exactly, it's just gonna shift a little, because I'm gonna have another relationship to mourn and grieve. So let me make sure I keep this right, So how do you balance showing up strong for others while tending to your own mental health, your own emotional health, your relationship, all of those things?
To be honest, I'm still working on that process. Like, I haven't really gotten fully. I mean, I am doing my coaching, but it hasn't exploded so big that I just don't have time for my family and life right now. So I am learning how to balance it now when I don't have those 50 or 60 clients or I call them students. But I'm learning to adjust and have cutoff time, make a schedule where I do a certain amount of, coaching and teachings at this time, and then the rest of the time for my wife and, my dogs and all of that stuff. So I'm working on time management now. I'm working on, to put the phone down. Sometimes you just got to put it away and don't touch it for a couple hours. So it's been a little struggle for me, because I want to make sure my platform continues to grow, and that I, touch the individuals that truly do need to hear what I'm saying. But also too, I have to have, the energy, and the cup has to be full for me to be able to pour. So I'm running to get my rest and, just take a break and just exit coaching for a few hours and enjoy, regular life, and then get back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Time management, I think, is such a big aspect of what we do, because like you said, we we spend so much time pouring into other people, checking on other people, that we sometimes forget to check in on ourselves, or like you said, refill our cup. And I had to learn that my husband is a big part of my cup. You know what I mean? So I have to make sure that I keep that right, because
Right.
again, without that, this whole coaching thing goes a whole different a whole different avenue. So um I think that, for me, I had to kind of learn that the hard way, and it got to the point where I had to build a confidence to block those schedules. I recently have decided, in addition to me blocking Wednesdays to pour into myself. So many people know I don't see clients on Wednesdays. I don't take interviews. I don't collab or anything on Wednesdays. I use that day to refill my cup, because it's the middle of the work week. So why not?
Right.
Get Monday and Tuesday off of you and get ready for Thursday and Friday before I
Exactly.
go into the weekend of rest. But in addition to that, I recently have decided, since my workload has multiplied, and I've prayed for that, so I'm thankful. But since my workload has multiplied and my projects have grown, I said, you know what? In addition to this midweek, I'm going to take a quarterly break. I'm going to take a month off every 3 months. And
Same.
I'm not seeing any new clients. If you're an existing client and you have an appointment, you're still there. We locked in. But I don't take new clients. I don't do any new projects. I don't, do all those things. And I reclaim those additional hours in the day to go do stuff that I want to do. And so it was like a freeing thing for me, because I'm like, okay, February, which happens to be my birthday month. So I'm like, cool. I'm gonna take the whole month off. Like, forget celebrating a day. Us. We celebrate the whole month. Okay, we got a birthday month. So
What day is your birthday? Oh, my wife's is February the 11th.
I'm the 8th. Come
Oh my
on.
God.
We're twins. Okay, we're twins. I'm convinced in all the ways. Name, the birthdays. I gotta talk to her. Okay, like, I need to talk to her. We've got to connect. um,
Oh wow.
but yeah, so I did February, and then I did June, which happens to be my husband's birthday month, and then
Perfect.
I did October, which is our anniversary month, and it
Okay.
actually worked out to every 3 months. And I'm
That's
like,
perfect.
that is so liberating to me. That's the way that I kind of needed to be able to find my balance. And I think, you know, that one of the hardest balances for anybody in a helping role is, being able to have the courage to take that time for you. Because in what we do, I feel like people put us on a pedestal, right? They think that, oh, this is a person who's teaching healing, so they have to be healed. And like you said, honey, I ain't healed until the last nail is in the coffin and the tombstone goes up. Then it'll say she has healed.
There you go.
That
There
is
you
it.
go.
But until then, I'm gonna need that ing. I am healing, right?
There you go.
And so people put us on this pedestal, and they don't always see the strength. I mean, it's like they only see the strength. They don't always see the weight that comes with that strength. And I think that it is so important that we start to normalize to, our leaders, our healers, our coaches, that we need space to rest too. Like, we
Yeah.
need room to breathe too. It's not just
Exactly.
what we talk about, but it's what we have to embody and what we have to do.
Yes. So true.
Yeah. And so that also makes me think about the ways that we heal. I make a living preaching self-care to everybody. And so it's a big for me for people to understand that self-care looks different for everybody, right? Healing looks different for all of us. And there are unexpected ways that we heal. And so when you told me that you were an animal lover, like 7 dogs, 4 cats, okay,
Yes.
that's a whole nother level of healing, right? Real, that's a full house.
Yes.
Um, what role do your pets play in your healing and your daily peace?
To be honest, look, there's like you said, 7 dogs and 4 cats. So that's another job within itself. But some of the days when I get off of my regular job and I come home, they're always there to show love. doesn't matter what type of mood I'm in, they're always there to wag their tails, lick my hand or my face or whatever, and they're going to always be genuine lovers. So that is what also gives me joy. And look, to continue to build my platform because look, I got to build them their life that they deserve too. Got to give them the big yard that they need and all the toys and the treats and things too. So, so I don't have any, humanly children yet. They are my children. So I treat them like my babies. So they just remind me that, even in a hard day or even when, things aren't going right, still smile, be grateful for the things that you do have control over and the things that have, are going good for you right now. So I don't know, just sometimes I just walk in the door and just see them wagging their tails or picking up a toy and it just gives me the joy to like, hey, it's going to be okay. Today was a rough day, but it's going to be all right. Tomorrow's a new day, full of opportunity. So let's make tomorrow better than today.
Absolutely. And could you imagine coming in from a stressful day and you know how when you enter the house and there's people in the house, they don't always pay attention to you. So they're like, everybody's doing their thing. Could you imagine a world if our pets, like if our dogs just kind of turned the other cheek, like, whatever?
No,
How long we would be?
I don't think I would be able to deal with it.
Exactly. And, and that's what I think is so beautiful about when you have, your emotional support pets, when we have pets, right? I think it's so amazing how unconditional love from animals can remind us of, what pure, like absolute presence feels like. No judgment, no expectations, minus a couple belly rubs and treats, right?
Exactly.
It's just peace. And I think that sometimes God sends comfort in the softest places, right? In the most unexpected forms through our animals,
Yes, I agree.
Yes. So I'm curious, when life gets heavy for you, right? What's one practice, maybe spiritual, mental, or physical, that helps you stay grounded in the present?
Well, like I said, I am an introvert. So when I feel at my heaviest or I'm feeling at my lowest, I honestly just seclude myself. I just go into my own place or in my own little area and either listen to music, um, positive podcasts, other coaches, or I game as well. So those are the outer things that I do to just take my mind off of the stress or the weight of the world for a moment, to do those things. But me just being by myself is basically what I do to reflect over the choices and decisions that I'm making or the future decisions and choices that I'm thinking about. It just allows me to ground myself again, basically just to reassure, give me the reasons of why I'm doing this in the beginning. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that so often we look for peace in like these big gestures, but sometimes it's just in the small daily rituals, right? Like you said, gaming. I love Netflix and healing, right? Give me a show that got 26 seasons and leave me by myself with Grey's Anatomy or something else. Let me cry and worry about some fictional characters' life.
right,
Like I don't need nobody else's drama. Let me watch TV.
exactly.
But yeah, it's those little consistent things that I think really help us to keep our spirit from unraveling. Um, and so with you, I know that you've turned your personal pain into a platform now that inspires other people. What is one message that you hope people take away when they hear your story or your coaching?
The main thing to take away is that life is always going to be hard. Life will never be easy. And we have to realize that even if we have all the money in the world, there always will be challenges. But the thing that we need to remember is that we have to believe in ourselves and to never give up. Because if we give up, we'll never see the opportunities that we could have accomplished by giving up. So you have to believe in yourself, believe in the skills and ability that God has given you, and go out there and be the best version of yourself that you can be each and every day.
Absolutely. And what I love about that is it also reminds me that living life is not about being perfect. It's just really about being present. You know,
Yes.
And I think that you've taken your story and you've turned it into a mirror for other people to see what is possible after pain.
Right.
Because again, so many times we get caught up in the pain and we just sit in the pain that we forget that there is something else, that there's more to life than your pain or your trauma
Yes.
or your grief. If you could speak directly to someone who's listening who feels like giving up right now, like they just said, you know what, I've had enough of this, what would you say to them?
First thing I would say is don't give up. That's the first thing I would say. But honestly, just to look back and reflect on themselves and look at where they have gotten from, because this could be the first time that they have had a hard time in life. You encounter hard times in life daily, weekly, yearly. So just to reflect on your life and look at where you have come from, even if it has been small, gratification or small things that you have conquered, just know that you have done that. And then just realize that there's more to this world than what people believe that you can be. There's more to this world than trying to fit in or trying to be a part of what society is doing. It's okay to be just who you are. It's okay to be different. It's okay not to fit in. And that's the part that I had to embrace too, because, most of the time we want to fit in and be with the crowd and, oh, they're doing it, so why can't I do it? But sometimes God literally separates us for a reason. The things that we go through for a certain reason, because we're going to encounter certain other individuals in our lifetime that are going to need to hear our stories, are going to need to hear our testimony. So don't question God, why? Just say, God, just give me the ability to understand why you chose me. And that's what I had to embrace and understand, because I was the one with like, why God, why me? Why do I have to go through this? But now it's like, God, I understand I have to go through this. Now just show me what I need to do to become better and to conquer this. So hope that helps somebody.
Absolutely. And that's right there is why I do what I do, right? That's why this
Yeah,
whole space exists. Because healing takes courage and it takes stories like yours to remind us that, it's possible to live after
yeah,
loss, to dream after you've been disappointed and to love again even after your heart has been broken.
exactly.
Um, and what I absolutely love the most about your story is how you didn't allow grief to define you. You let it refine you, right? You turned
Exactly.
your pain into purpose, your loss into a legacy, right? You're building something for future generations. And you use all of that fear, because I know you felt it before, right? But you use that fear and you turned it into fuel to do more, to be more. And I think that that's what walking by faith really looks like. Um, and so
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for all that you have done, and even for all the things that you're going to do, because I know that you are destined for greatness. If you just keep being obedient, I know that there's so much more out there for you. And I thank you for showing up today and just, speaking your truth and being transparent, for the community. I think that society needs to hear more from you, more from men in general, because when it comes to healing and self care and mental health, not a lot of men are willing to speak up. But I think that so many men have something to say. And so
I
just thank
agree.
you for showing up today and speaking your truth. I appreciate you.
You are so welcome. I just appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And I thank you for like, commending me and saying that I'm going to go a lot of places, because I mean, I believe it too, but I'm trying to stay humble, and just allow God to work through me. But yes, a lot more of me is coming. I'm working on two books at this current time, one about self love and one about confidence. So, hopefully by the time this does air, the books will be out. And I'll have some more information to share, and they'll be able to get those books too. So,
Absolutely.
but yes, I'm very excited about the route that God has gotten me on, and the people that I am meeting, and the experiences that I'm getting, because now I feel like I really am fulfilling my purpose and the reason why God put me on this earth. So I'm gonna keep going until I can't do it anymore.
Absolutely. Just stay obedient. I know. I know the journey is not easy. Walking in your purpose is not an easy thing. But again, if you just stay obedient and you keep your heart open,
Yes,
your ears open to just listen to what God is calling you to do. You can't lose, you
I
know.
agree.
Um, and let everybody know how to connect with you. Where can they find you? When can they
Yeah.
catch your live streams? All the things to getting into the land of no fear, no doubt.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I am on every social media platform from IG, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, on every single platform. You can either search Positive Bond 86 or No Fear, No Doubt Coaching. Either one of those, you'll find me. Definitely hit a follow because I post things daily. And I do go live on TikTok Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and there's pop-ups on Saturdays when I'm available. But I'm trying to leave the weekends for the family. I'm trying, but people are requesting because they're not able to catch me during the week. So I made do pre-records and then just post them on Saturday. So we shall see.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, like I said, for showing up and just being your amazing self in our community. Family, I will be sure to link his contact information in the description so you guys will have no excuse not to connect with my brother. Show up, let him know you're from the Self-Care Club and that you're here to support. And most importantly, guys, share this out with the fellas, all right? Let them
Yeah.
know that, this is a safe space for men too, that self-care isn't just for the ladies. I think that we need to all start healing out loud. And I know I'm excited for upcoming projects that we have. It's no secret. I told people that I'm bringing the women's empowerment back, and we've got someone to lead the men's empowerment. So
Cannot
stay
wait. I
tuned,
cannot
y'all.
wait.
Stay tuned. 2026 is going to be big.
Yes,
It's
ma'am, it
going to be
is. I'm so ready.
big. Me too. Now listen, family, I hope that you guys caught that, because healing it doesn't just mean forgetting what life has thrown your way, right? It means learning how to carry everything differently, carrying love differently. It means giving yourself permission to breathe, to feel, to fall apart if you need to, right? Cry in the shower if you got to. But most importantly, it means still choosing to rise again. I think that what Jevon has reminded us about today is that strength doesn't always roar. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to keep showing up when everything inside of you wants to quit. It's trusting that God can still bring beauty out of brokenness, that knowing that broken crowns still color. So if you're listening to this right now and you've been going through your own season of loss, heartbreak, or uncertainty, I want you to know that your story doesn't end with pain. There's still purpose waiting on the other side of your perseverance. Again, I want to thank Jevon for showing up with such authenticity, faith, and just just breathing new life into us. I think that he has reminded us, that no fear, no doubt isn't just a motto, that it is truly a mindset. And family, if you felt this conversation in any way, I want to make sure that you go give my brother a follow, support his movement and what he is doing. Go get you some daily encouragement and motivation. And you guys will be able to tap into him. I'm also going to link him in our community hub on the Self-Care Club. So that way you can reach out to him, grab, the resources that are available. And, again, heal out loud in community. Now, before we part ways, as always, let me leave you guys with a little extra love and light. I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life. And I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. Thank you.
I found my room to breathe.